So I'm not exactly sure what I want to say in this video, but I kind of have been realizing lately that I've been using knowledge and ideas to escape from my own personal um, insecurities or uncertainties, and I wanted to change that. And I think YouTube is, while it is a great medium to talk about philosophy and politics and culture and all that, it could also be a great way to delve into personal issues and understand um, myself better through others. And I've done a little bit of that, but I've always sort of run away from it because it's scary to face your shadow. And looking back, I think what drew me to Buddhism was the impersonal nature of the path, in the sense that well, there is no self. One of the biggest aspects of the Dharma is anatta, and there's no ego. So it's not that you have to defeat the ego or transcend the ego. It's that there is no ego. But then I've heard from various Western spiritual teachers that you have to have an ego before you can transcend it, and that's true, especially in the Western context. As an American who is faced with this society that values only money and status, um, even while I may totally disagree with that whole framework, I still have to go out in the world and make a name for myself and make a living, barring some huge catastrophe or collapse of civilization, which, I'm not saying that I'm expecting that to happen, but it does seem like World War III is about to go down pretty soon. It may have already started, and we won't realize that it has until we look back. But the state of the world is really going to shit. And I don't know if that's why I've been feeling kind of down lately, kind of isolated and alienated, or if that's just myself, or if it's impossible to distinguish between, my own inner state and the external state of the world. Because it's weird, if we went back a couple hundred years ago, when information wasn't as easily available and we weren't as globalized, and I couldn't know what's going on the other side of the world immediately live on television or through the internet, we had to deal with our own personal lives more, and the people that we were around on a day-to-day basis, that formed the horizon of our world, basically. But now, any person that's interested, the horizon is the whole globe, the entire human race, the entire biosphere, every living organism, the entire Earth, and even the entire solar system and galaxy and universe. We're situated on this teeny little planet with all of this context. And it's all reflected in here, in my own life, my own mind. And it's hard to not focus on the immensity of it all and to deal with my own personal issues. And it's easy to blame that on just the state of the world and the connectivity and the planetary consciousness that's emerging. But at the same time, for that to work, for planetary consciousness to emerge and to be meaningful, the individuals that participate in that process must themselves be whole and realized, and I don't feel that way. Um, and I think using YouTube for expressing ideas and talking about philosophy and trying to build knowledge is great. Politics, culture, whatever we talk about, it's great. But I think it's been underappreciated as a medium for, I can't think of how else to put it, group therapy maybe, um, in the sense that dealing with personal issues on something like YouTube where anybody can watch it, when you do say something and something um, that you yourself have trouble facing, when your unconscious comes out, which, most of the time I could be talking about something entirely different, and other people will realize um, part of my unconscious coming out, my shadow being projected, and I can't see it because I'm doing it, and I'm blind to my shadow as I'm doing it. But other people can see it, and I think if we really engage this as a process of development and helped each other to point out, what we're doing, it could really be beneficial. A lot of psychologists, like Carl Jung, for example, he was always warning against using Eastern spirituality as a Westerner to find transcendence, or to be a Buddhist as an American. Is that even possible? And is it even healthy or desirable? I've read a lot about Buddhists, American Buddhists, Western Buddhists, who begin meditating and they're seeking enlightenment. They're on the path, and they're trying to realize non-self, and yet they haven't integrated themselves as a psychological person yet. And it can be dangerous because you can be meditating, and what will happen is all of this shadow material will be released that prior to that was sort of compacted and held back. But then the process of meditation opens the mind up in such a way that these shadow complexes just start flying out at you, and it can be very difficult. And I've been dealing with that lately, and I'm having a hard time, reading books because I just can't focus. I'm like thinking as I'm reading this book, God, what are you doing with your life right now? And I've got a lot of things going for me, and I'm gonna go back to school in January, and I'm working now and saving up money, but I just feel stuck. I feel like I don't have a clear idea of where I'm going to be a year from now, and that should be exciting. There's a lot of possibilities in the works, but I just don't know where I'm going, and it's frightening. And at times I'll get in moods when it's exciting, but I have a lot of self-doubt and identity issues, and I've always had identity issues. And what really drew me to Buddhism at first was the notion of this very, deep mystical idea that you are God. And, not just me alone, but that this feeling of self-consciousness that I think I have is in some sense an illusion. And I got really into that idea because I was like, wow, I don't have to deal with all these issues of forming an ego and a stable personality and all of that stuff. I can just transcend and be beamed up to heaven. That's great. And I was really drawn to that. But 4 years later, I'm not in heaven, and I'm here in this world dealing with other people, and Buddhism just can't provide me with the stability that I need. And I'm just now coming to realize that I'm not going to stop meditating, but I don't know. I just want to get that out on the table. I'm just thinking out loud in this video, trying to understand what's going on. So, if anybody has any advice for me, or any suggestions, or if you want to engage in this group therapy idea, please respond or comment, or just in general, let me know what you think is going on here. Thanks for listening.